Howdy folks, welcome to another episode of the Scannell Agenda. Today's date is February 12th, 2018, and this is show number 96, entitled Capital Formation Follows Function. And we've all heard the famous form follows function. Well, this is the same thing. Form follows function. In this case, capital formation. It's very important to note our political climate today. Many people feel as though we're being handled by an oligarchy, and that less relevance now is that of the parties, the Democratic or Republican parties. So, we have a situation here, as they say, and it seems, to quote a friend of mine from Nantucket, Chucky Stojak, there's such a thing as an economic funnel, and I've mentioned this before. And it's a simplistic way of looking at it. And the thing to do, if you can manage it, is to set yourself up at the bottom of the funnel while everyone else is pouring money into the top of the funnel, and you're down at the bottom collecting the money. Well, that's kind of comical, but it's true. It really is true. If you can rig the system, you can be down there at the bottom of the funnel. That's one of our little problems here, is that our economic systems are being toyed with by, as I say, the rich. And that's in quotes. It's not fair to classify people as rich, poor, disabled, etc., but it's one of those things that I do. Helps me to make sense of what I'm trying to accomplish. Now, let's say the rich, in this case of an oligarchy, would be the kind of the political operators on Nantucket that would, for the sake of making money, and that's a worthy endeavor to make money, they try to rig themselves to be at the bottom of the funnel and rig everything, etc., etc. So, as I see it, we do have an oligarchy, and the politics is kind of has gone south, because the oligarchy sort of supplants what you'd call the two-party deal. If you have, let's say, rich people, market people, stock market people, the financial people, bankers, etc., etc., and then you got your government workers, and you got your semi-government workers, the defense industry, etc., and then you add in medical people who are doing very nicely, thank you very much, because of a rigged system. Well, if all of these folks get together and decide who they like together as an oligarchy, that was warned about in the days of the Greeks, in the old democracies. This is a natural progression of a democracy to its own death, or at least to problems. All right. Capital formation from different angles as it relates to politics. And it does relate to politics. It's not just private business that can talk about capital formation. You see, because we've got energy systems that the public has a dog in that fight, because we have to green the earth. So we do have a dog in the fight. And I'll just digress here. One of my systems to green the earth and see is pretty good. And I've been working on this a little bit here and there, but it's so simple, doesn't require a lot of work. You've got to have the pumping ability to pump water up to a great height in hot weather, with the sun shining at noontime, let's just say. So the deal is, with this green the earth system, of which there are many systems to green the earth, but this one here It uses pumps to pump water up high and spray the water out, and then the water will become water vapor and go into the air. And if you have enough of these, you'll be able to track it on the radar, and it'll form clouds. And we need clouds because we need the shade. We need the water because we need the cleansing. And we need the water because we need the greening of the earth. Because of the physical aspects of global warming, we need to infuse water into the Earth's atmosphere if we want to save the Earth. So what do the rich care if the Earth heats up and dries out? The answer is apparently they don't. Of course, I'm saying the rich. It's not fair, of course. But there are these operators that like to get people lined up in politics so that they can make more money. Is this the oldest conspiracy theory in the world or what? I think it is. Someone's taking advantage. Okay. So these are the bottom line people, and I've known some people that are real tough bottom line people, and they're all about the bottom line. And they're not all about the long-term public trust. I would say that's my area, the long-term public trust. So I design complex systems that are comprehensive for the public trust. So who else designs these systems that would put a lot of water into the atmosphere? We do need to do that. In order to do that, you've got to have a really good windmill system, which I've got on paper designed, and wave generators that go with the windmills. And there's a fishery component to that. As a percentage, it may be as much as 10%. So that's what would pay the bills on a windmill that I design. The energy from the wind would be about 80%, and then your fisheries may be 10%, and the other 10 or 20 or 30% could be the wave generators. And these things that I design produce highly charged compressed air, also hydrogen. When you produce hydrogen, you're cracking water and you get hydrogen and oxygen. And so we're not going to throw away the oxygen. That's going to be a special product that I call ORCA, oxygen-rich compressed air. So these are the three green fuels of the future, which, with the monorail system, this solves the energy crisis. With a lot of other things combined, solves the energy crisis. That is water systems, sanitation systems, all these green systems will solve the energy crisis for us in the aggregate. But if it were one thing that does solve the energy crisis, it would be this monorail. But you've got to have the three green fuels of the future, putting the fossil fuels not out of business, but relegating them to the dinosaur world where they're from. Fossil fuels, that's why they call them fossils. So, let's just say that we did a workup of that system. I think it would work, and here's a picture of the monorail. I do probably 5 or 6 drawings of a monorail, cross-section of how the pipes fit together, and then we've got roads attached to that. We've got an alley for boxes, and then a couple more alleys for pallets and people. These are called pods. But when you're designing out 200 years, you really have to do some thinking. And I do a lot of thinking about this and drawing and designing. This is my work that I do. I also do boat work. I actually get some physical work done during during the mornings usually. Capital formation follows function. Now, if our function as a people is all about making the rich richer, then all this green talk is nonsense. And as we are in the middle of a genre where our parties are owned by the rich, we're in the middle of that genre. Democrats are owned by the rich, Republicans are owned by the rich. And by the way, I really do believe that our party people on the left and our party people on the right need to step up and get together on one page for a change, and that would be, how do we get the money out of politics? Because it's really hurting us. It would be like having a town meeting in your town or my town whereby the rich people picked who and what happened at the town meeting, and everyone else was just smacked down. You could be doing really good work, but if you weren't lined up with them, if you weren't, as they say, in their pocket, you'd get smacked down. Like my friend who ran for governor, Scott Lively, Dr. Scott Lively, or Reverend. He did a great job, but he got smacked down. I did an interview with him, which I put up on Facebook. Lo and behold, he is very green. And him and I got along on the green aspects of what we need to be doing. And lo and behold, he's got a history that goes back to the 1600s, family history, as a salter, fishing, etc., etc. So he's tuned into a lot of different things. He's not in the pocket of the rich. I would say that many governors from Massachusetts have fallen into that category. Democrat, Republicans, they're puppets basically. And we don't want to go the way of Massachusetts nationally. And there's a few other things that attach to this. Let's say your sheriffs down in Florida got wind of the situation where I get into a pond fight over the salt ponds, and then I was really mistreated by the police, by the sheriffs, by the district attorneys, etc., the powers that be, because they were working for the rich, and diagnosed 8 ways from Sunday. Ridiculous. Okay. I'm kind of a guy who's in the way, as is Scott Lively. If you think for yourself, you're in the way. If you line up with these people, okay, fine. So economics is really my deal. But it's more about, let's be good and healthy with our functioning democracy. And right now, we are working for the rich. And if you are a pastor, please listen up. These are false gods. I've heard this from pastors before, but then they go off on some other tangent. This is very important for pastors and priests to really go to a seminar or whatever you got to do. The politics in this country is definitely lining up behind the false god of money. And a lot of people are with that. These are people getting the favor. They're getting extra gravy. They're on the gravy train. And I'm a welfare bum, but I'm not on the gravy train. I'm doing some pretty good work. You're getting your money's worth here with solving the energy crisis, which the 3 green fuels of the future, the monorail, it solves the energy crisis. However, it's not something that makes the rich happy. Let's look at our food system now. I have a system called Mega System Food, Soil, and Recycle. And I threw recycling in there for the obvious reason that all these things sort of have a vector at the cash register retail level. So anyway, food is not our system. It's basically a system for the well-connected and the rich. This is an organic tomato. I just bought it for about $2.75 thereabouts. It's not huge. It's not really good looking, but maybe it is good. But I grew up across from Brack's Landing in Harwich, in that house that sells the tickets for the ferry. We had a big garden out back, and we had a food stand. Now, we would collect eelgrass and mix that with the garden soil. So this would be part of our compost. This is eelgrass. Incidentally, I got this eelgrass from Stage Harbor about half a year ago. And the eelgrass is now, I would say, in my book, it's officially gone from Harwich. I'm sorry to have to be the one reporting that to you. It should be more of, the state and the federal people should be watching this stuff, but they're not. I did a show on codium. The scallops are gone too. You don't get scallops unless you have eelgrass. What a terrible shame this is. We could turn it around, I think. It's not too late. Shortly it will be too late, because we won't have the genetic stock to work with the scallops. These are the scallops. We will not have the genetic stock to work with very shortly. In spite of that, you've still got fishermen saying, well, it's a cycle. This is what we know. It is a cycle, and they'll be back soon. There's no accounting for this. It just doesn't make any sense to say it's a cycle. There's a lot of reasons why we don't have a scallop fishery. But cycle is not on there. Now, cycles do play a role, naturally, normally. We're dealing with some terrible situations for the scallops here. But it can be turned around right now. There was a scallop species north of us, north of the Cape, and that is extinct. I think I'm told there were 4 species, or are 4 species on the east coast here, of bay scallops, not sea scallops. And there's somewhere around 300 species of scallops in the world. But anyway, our lovely Cape scallop, or Nantucket bay scallop, call it what you will, it's on its way out. And it has got to be one of the most lucrative things to do, is to get into that. And years ago at the Nantucket Marine Laboratory, also known as Nantucket Research and Education Foundation, or Harbor Life, it changed its name, I think we were knocked out by the rich, who didn't really want anything. They're kind of neurotic. And they're the rulers of the waterfront. And if you start talking about doing aquaculture, basically doing anything but a pretty little boat for them to go out and look and gaze at aesthetically, they're going to try to just knock it out. It's a neurotic tendency, as is the neurotic tendencies of fishermen to be territorial and to try to hoard fishing rights for just themselves and the kids getting out of high school. They don't get it. They don't get that this system is not an equal opportunity system, and it's not for the habitat. All they need to get is that they've got it. They've got what they want. That's all. It's a terrible thing for the world to follow the United States on fisheries. Now, there was a show by Michelle Malkin. She's a kind of a right-wing, right-of-center, as am I, but I get it and she doesn't. And I should really do a show on that. I think she would appreciate it. She was totally waylaid and misdirected by a few fishermen. I think it was down in Connecticut or Rhode Island. Utterly absurd. So capital formation in the fisheries would be very good if I was listened to on Fish Folk, with my market quota system. And I did give a college-level seminar to grad students on this at the Environment and Natural Resource Economics School. And I was published, too. So, and I spoke to the Ocean State Aquaculture Association, and I was well known in certain circles. On fish folk, I won all the debates, basically. Not all of the debate. I won pretty much all these system debates on how we need to move forward. And that is with the sea farm system or market quota system, or as I also call it, pick your own strawberries. So you can't serve two masters. So the fishermen want to serve the rich and themselves. And okay, they're in great shape. They've got these fishing rights. They don't know what to do with them. It's like some woman on Facebook described this guy that ran for office. He got into office, and he's still in office on the county level, and she said it's like a dog chasing after the car. And once the dog catches the car, it doesn't know what to do, But the dog is chasing the car. It was the funniest little analogy I've ever heard about, but very apt in this case. So Bill Weld really kind of started this oligarchy mess. If I could put a date on it, I would say 30 days after he was elected, he caved into what was called the DEQE, Department of Quality Engineering, Environmental Quality Engineering. And at that time, I was pretty disappointed by him because he sided with the pond killers on Nantucket. And that goes back to this pond fight that I still advocate for the return of the native rights to Nantucket. After all, we were pond seining, which is illegal in Massachusetts, in the ponds. Pretty much even after the state came out and laid down their new law was that you had to close the ponds because I guess the liberals wanted this so badly. The misguided lefty-loosey liberals wanted to kill the ponds. I shouldn't say kill the ponds. They just wanted them to be natural. That is, freshwater ponds. They couldn't see having a salt pond that you had to open up twice a year to let the herring in and the herring out. However, if you were to do that legally, they'd have to do an environmental impact study, and that would, therefore, then change the whole deal. If you had to do an environmental impact study and then you had to prove that the right thing to do was to kill these ponds, they knew and everyone knew that you'd never pull it off. However, back then, the rich were giving out these little favors to the DEQE et al., the people on the left, the lefty-loosey, I mean the extreme, panicked left-wing people who just had to do something. Got to do something, So, killed the whole environments in these ponds, pretty much 99% dead. And I was sticking up for, the salt ponds being maintained as salt ponds like they always were. Now, pastors, I'd like to tell you that I lined up with the authority figures of the previous judges who ruled on that issue, pastors, and that was Levine, Judge Levine, and retired Judge Poland. And if you were interested, you could look at that. You're not interested. All you're interested in doing, pastors, priests, etc., is saying, follow the authority, follow the authority. So I was lined up with the town meeting. The town meeting voted to, respect these judges, and I did too. And that won and on the town meeting floor. So I do not believe in, the civil disobedience. It was never a case of civil disobedience there. But the rich people, they just were getting control over the politics as they have now. Gotten control over people like Governor Baker, who made the speech, and in the speech everyone applauded him for saying, we're all going to get along now. Ooh, that would give George Orwell reason to rise up out of the grave, that little speech. We don't need the two parties because we're all going to get along. It's not good. We're all going to line up. The cops are going to line up, the doctors with the DNA switch they have lined up. What a bunch of maggots the medical people are for lining up with these rich people. And the DNA switch, my family getting killed because of that, to cover that up. That's Bill Weld. And then Romney and Baker, you can't do any better for the money people. Scott Lively would have been a breath of fresh air to get in office, I'll tell you. So the fisheries people with the permits function to serve the rich, and they support the status quo because they've got what they want. In spite of the fact that the fisheries have gone downhill and downhill and downhill, they have got what they want. Very territorial and neurotic. It's not doing the earth very good for the world to follow us. So we can solve acid rain. We can solve the climate change and the global warming. All we need to do is about 45 different things that I've got outlined, and about 45 more that I don't, I'm sure. So I've got this stuff designed pretty well, this green grid T, I call it, and it used to be called the tripe system. I changed the name. It's more lined up with the reality of what it is. It's a green grid transit system. It carries multiple utilities, and it carries water, sanitation needs, natural gas, broadband, you name it. The 3 green fuels of the future that I've named. Now also, thank you, we have a situation where the young people do not want to serve these oligarchy puppet masters, but they have no home to go to because the parties have really blocked them out, both parties. So America is on thin ice, pastors, and you've got your reward. You want everything to be simple. Just follow the authorities. And these are the rich that hire these puppets, essentially. I feel like Christianity has been drugged down a mile of bad road, and we need to reverse this, pastors and priests. We need to have a seminar for you folks to get some sense into your head, because it's not in the Bible that we have our democracy stolen from us. Amen? Can I get an amen from that? Well, that's the Scannell agenda. Thanks for watching.